Howdy everybody, this is Brian from quantlabs.net. I just wanted to go over on a second version of this exact video presentation. The only difference is the original one, which was put out a year ago, got over 15,000 views on YouTube. Thank you very much for that. So I'm going to bring everybody up to date where we're at. I'm going to try to talk about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, the craziness of cryptocurrency and over the last years. And on top of that, I'm going to talk about up-to-date machine learning, because that seems to be the new quant version 2 that is taking over. But everything's all consolidated in Python, which is great. So let's talk about what I got, which is the Python algo trading course, and among others as well. So when I went out 8 years ago doing this website, I didn't know it was going to get this big as it is. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But right now, the audience that we've evolved to are retail traders, students for career moves into the finance services industry. But everything's so changed so quickly. And I'm also finding ex-traders that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s even, that are trying to stay up to date with the world of trading and algorithmic trading, because that's how evolved it is, and they've been displaced from their old traditional trading desk job. Also, algo traders have been experienced, but that has radically changed over the last few years. Okay, so let's first talk about the very first market is Python for retail traders. Yes, you get all the MetaTrader, all the NinjaTrader, TradeStation, and all that stuff. But the market has radically changed, where everybody back 4 or 5 years ago, when I had the London Quant telling me where to go in terms of personal development in this field, was to rule my own solution. And that's where I'm at today, is I have a number of solutions that I'm using for my own trading needs. And I will say algorithmic and automated trading, which are different, but to me they're the same as it is right now. So as I said, over 90% of traditional traders are losing money right now. It's just a fact, and as things become more automated, more competitive, more consolidated, it's even getting harder to make true money. And there's also a lot of brokers out there that are very corrupt, that will force you out of the market as well. And the platforms themselves, like MetaTrader, TradeStation, I'm even reading, hearing that there may be even backdoors in the platform that you're actually using. I don't know. It's all conspiracy theory, but on and on it could go. So the other group that we're talking about are the Python for students. Of course, we know about the data science and machine learning. That's what everybody's learning about, algo development. That's what people are learning now. And in actual fact, in order for countries to stay up to date from a competitive point of view, when you got a lot of Chinese kids coming out and pretty well taking over the world, and not only that, but with Russian and South American and India, and a lot of big regions are moving into this field of having a lot of their core education at a very young age to start learning coding. Whereas now Britain now recognizes it, and a lot of the students at a very young age are starting to learn coding. But for students in this field, it's where graduates who want to be employed in institutions, and as I said, Python is pretty well taken over. A lot of the high-frequency trading shops pretty well are the only two languages that are used are Python and C++. Yes, you can say that they're using Java and Scala and all this stuff, but usually the core is Python and C++. And there's a lot of good resources out there, as we know about Quantopian, QuantStart, and a whole slew of other ones as well. But the bulk of the market that I get that are making over, maybe you have not seen my video regarding where I have over about 70% of my audience that visits quantlabs.net make over $100,000. And there's about around 40%, 39 last check a few weeks ago, 40% roughly are making over 150K. And a lot of these guys are farther along in the chain of knowledge as algo traders, as independent algo traders, I might add as well. So when it comes to algorithmic trading and electronic trading, over 80% of the markets are driven by electronic trading. Their trading desks upon trading desks have closed now pretty well programmers. When you look at Goldman Sachs and where it's evolved, it's no longer an investment bank. It's a technology company. Talk to the CEO and you'll hear it in interviews, specifically at at Bloomberg. He also says that over 30% of all staff in Goldman Sachs are coders. And that's just the evolution of industry in the financial fields, as well as pretty well globally in all the other fields out there. So a lot of people are interested in trading in a lot of all asset classes, and specifically crypto, because over the last few months, a lot of my community are making a boatload of money in crypto. And obviously we know why, where, let's say, Bitcoin is at right now. But again, in a year from now, where this video, Bitcoin and crypto may be dead in the water. But that's just the typical evolution of trading. But there's still Forex, futures, options that are the places to be to make good, consistent profit. And also that. But the really profitable traders are the ones that know about trading, and they have a way now to take their algorithms, to take their code, and know how to parallelize it to go from the equivalent of 1 or 2 strategies to maybe 12 strategies. And that's just all due to parallelizing in the code. So the question becomes, why Python? This is what the pros are using. Machine learning is that, but there's always the question of liberty. When it begins to take root, is a plant of rapid growth. From this quote, I'm referring to open source, because Python is not really controlled by any one area or one company. Python is true open source, where it's just proliferated all over the place. And this is true when you look at that kind of liberty and where it grows, and that's where we're at today. People say a lot about Python, security. Well, here's a quote from this guy over at PayPal, saying that they use it in their security group. But as you know, PayPal has not, up until now, has not been reported any kind of hacking that I know of. Also regarding high frequency trading, Python is excellent for doing quant studies and math analysis. A great example of that is the Jupyter project, which is huge, and that's where a lot of research is. I've been posting a lot of ways to integrate it with R and C++, which just makes it even more of a standard. Also, everything in the world of trading is pretty well, in terms of the tool set, is Linux compliant. Of course, I love my Mac OS 10, but the packages that are used are like Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib. PyCharm's still pretty popular. Obviously, the Anaconda project, there's a boatload, and of course, Pip, which is very easy to manage your packages as well, which is really nice, because let's be honest, we don't want to have to monkey around with code and configuring files. Now here's the key. These are more soft skills. To succeed as an algo trader, you've got to be comfortable with the packages and tools I mentioned. You also, when it comes to working with a lot of the tools, you got to be pretty comfortable with the computer systems and all the different components that are part of the operating system. But most of all, I don't care how technical you are. In order to accomplish in the world of algo trading, you got to have the drive, the inner drive, and the motivation to get across what I call the finish line. Also, in order to really succeed, if you have a full-time job, in order to do this, you do have to have the focus and the time to be able to do it. And it also really, really helps to have a solid, well, I should say a basic understanding and background in trading, and understanding the limits and elements of it. Now, here's some tips I can give you for all the newbies, because I get a lot. And then here, as resources to help you get started, obviously, is books. The Microsoft Channel 9 is good. There's a boatload of online courses and websites which are now free. But I could go on, and Google is your friend for that. And of course, we talk about strategies. There's a number of places to learn, and for me right now, I'm starting out in Forex and trying to take that same type of strategy and move into cryptocurrencies. As I said, that seems to be where right now the profit is. Now, in terms of how I'm going to develop and get people started in learning about this whole world, is to understand Python and understand the components of what goes into a trading system. So that is my first wave. And then I have another course that's specific to help you understand the futures and options market. We build it off of a YouTube video course series put out by UC Davis. That's free, but we also get the software, the code, and the algos built around those concepts of the futures and algo market, because I was saying the tried and true method to understand market direction in trading is either through forward contracts in the futures market, as well as option chain and understanding that, as well as understanding now over the last years ETF flow. So beyond that is I want to take it and understand FX, like Forex and beyond, and have other courses that'll help you specifically in the world of interactive brokers, because I really like interactive brokers because it's a broker that has all universal asset classes. They support most countries out there, and they have a pretty good setup, and they're pretty well one of the only clean brokers for retail traders. So the most important thing to understand is obviously how do we structure this so you can understand everything, and everything has to be learned through small chunks and small bite sizes. So what we're talking about are units. This is no different than understanding how bridges and dams are built. So the first thing is to understand, break it all up into modules, and once you have the modules, then you break it up into smaller bite-sized chunks called units. And you go through each one, and then you can mark it off and go, yeah, I'm done, and move on to the next unit or next module. Now, before we start understanding the detail, nitty-gritty, part of this course series, what I've built out is it evolves into getting you into understanding how to build out a basic trading system in Python, and that's just it. It's primitive, and it's an evolution, and it's not going to start today and tomorrow you've got a trading system. It takes a couple of weeks to months to really understand all the different major pieces that go into it. So again, as I said, there's been a 6-year journey in this. I've wasted a lot of time in a lot of different technology areas. I'm not going to say like .NET, MATLAB. I'm not saying that they're bad, but by the time you know how to use those tools to where we're today, Python and the open source and the Linux based operating systems is where we're at today, and that's what the industry uses. So I want to go over why Python in detail for you to understand, because I used to poo-poo it a few years ago, and now it's pretty well my core element of how I move forward with Python, specifically around machine learning and cryptocurrency. So as I said, the infrastructure is the most important part, and that's what we build on first with the primitive algo trading system course to help you get started, and I've got lots of pieces there. So one of the most important parts are databases, because as an example, I've done some crazy programming in-memory stuff, and as I ran it, it got confused, and it just became a big nightmare in trying to understand about processing and all this technical mumbo-jumbo. But once I moved off of that, moved into a database, my life got a lot easier. But the question is, what database do you use? And a good low-level database that has all the features that you want, which is free and true open source, is Redis. That is my choice that I like. There's also MongoDB, which is not bad, but they've now evolved into a more commercial type of entity. But you can still use Mongo for sure. And those are the two databases I would recommend to start with in building out any type of system. But as I said, my choice right now would be definitely NoSQL Redis, because it has that in speed, it has all the other major pieces that you want. The other thing that I find is very critical is broker accounts. If you want to clean brokers, I said you want to go with interactive brokers. There's a number of API options for multiple languages. I cover that in one specific course. I go into great detail with that. As I said, one of the other big reasons why I like interactive brokers, because they cover all the asset classes, futures, stock, some ETF or equity, let's say futures, options, Forex, and on it goes. So another big part is that people prefer to look at our charts. there's numerous charting packages out there. Like the big one, and I cover the different options is Matplotlib and PyQt-Graph, but the most evolved one is Matplotlib. There's some other options out there that you can use for JavaScript-based ones, but you don't need to get into that. Anyways, and then there's also the front end. This was a fairly big challenge, but the two choices you pretty well have are the Qt Designer, which is the older version of Python, or the PyQt-Graph as another option as well. We kind of cover that in the first course series of the Python algo trading. And then every week what I do is on Monday nights, what I try to do is encourage people to come out and do live Q&A. We have a portion that's open to anybody, meaning the public, and then we close that off, start up a new session for all my members. And as I said, we try to do that on Monday nights, and we've been doing that for the last few weeks, or few years actually, and it seems to work out most convenient for people based upon throughout the world. The other thing is, if there's no video, I mean, there's some live videos that we can do, but everything's pretty well on video demand because people have whatever schedule going on, and then you just go in, and as we discussed about the modules and units, that's all broken up, and in there I give a lot of videos, like video source code walkthroughs and different kinds of concepts and different ways to build out your own first analytical trading system, the components of it at least. On top of that, I also give my own source code, be it in Python, maybe C++, there's a whole variety of different languages, but the one I really focus on, and as I said, is Python is my primary choice. So you get that included in this course series. As I said, I include very detailed walkthroughs, line by line, on what each line is doing, so you get a solid understanding of how that works. And as I said, we have a schedule. It's driven around a weekly meetup on Monday nights, and we just keep it open-ended for all the members and try to go over what's needed. And that's where I devote my time to people is on Monday nights. My time, that is, and I'm Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so there's a number of ways to reach out. I have the Quant Finance group. It's a meetup group that's been running for over 7 years. I think we're up to 1,200 people. But I mean, meetup is now the old school, and I'm only giving you social media groups that have really blown up. So Facebook is where everything's at. The two Facebooks, the page and the group. The group for Facebook is just over 10,000. We'll just leave it at 10. Over 10,000 people. On top of the Quant Labs YouTube channel is now roughly pushing 2,000 videos with about 5,600 people in that group. Every time I say that, it blows up and it just gets bigger. So that's pretty well, these are the places to come out and reach me. Now, also I have an email list, so if you want to know what's going on with me and some of the promotional stuff we got, you can just join the email list here at the membership.htm off of quantlabs.net. And then also, the best thing obviously is to join all the free stuff so you can keep in the loop. And the other thing is, in this video somewhere, there should be a video. If you click that right now, you'll get the best deal possible because as I start ramping up the marketing, the price of this, whatever it is, will definitely be going up because we're getting a lot of good buzz on this stuff. Hopefully that'll help you out, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a good day, and hopefully I'll see you at one of the group things later.